The Dhurandhar soundtrack is a rare Bollywood soundtrack, definitely one of the only among a mainstream, now thunderous hit, where music is used as an expressive register that can build character, history, and mood. It uses the commercial muscle of a legacy label to make archival material live again, brings in artists from all over the country to do what they do best, and relies on sound design and editing as narrative architecture. This combination, helmed by Shashwat Sachdev and trusted by director Aditya Dhar, has produced moments that are setting a higher benchmark for what a mainstream Hindi film soundtrack can do. You're watching Soft Power, a series that dives deep into the milestones and movements of Indian music and pop culture. We break down how it has evolved, people who are shaping it, and why it deserves global attention. For decades, mainstream Bollywood soundtracks have followed a rigid formula. We are used to films pausing to make space for songs, no questions asked, no context given, an item number for reach, a romantic single for security, and actors lip syncing while the creative labor of composers, lyricists, and singers fades into the background. This is the norm. In this video, we are listing down the ways the Dhurandhar soundtrack stands out in its structuring, presentation, and representation. A recurring commentary about Dhurandhar is that music and background sound are compositional partners in building psychological tension. Dhurandhar uses score and ambient sound as continuous mood shapers, letting background noise and music occupy the same emotional bandwidth so scenes breathe differently. This creative choice recalls the way Edgar Wright staged action to pre-existing music, where cuts, hits, and camera moves are scored to rhythm, almost like a well-choreographed song. His films literally edit to tracks. While his model is choreography to music, Quentin Tarantino uses songs more loosely, letting them change the mood or add irony to a scene. Dhurandhar borrows from both approaches. Its music is closely tied to the film's rhythm and editing, but it also adds emotional meaning to scenes. Its songs and the score extend the movie's psychology, atmosphere, and tension. There's no obligation to serve star image, no default casting of voices, and no need for spectacle divorced from context. In doing so, the film re-centers authorship where it belongs, on sound, intent, and storytelling rather than formula. The last decade of Bollywood music has been extremely disappointing, especially when compared to the glory and dominance of decades before that. As a consequence, composers are forced to rely on remakes of older classics, with nostalgia baiting considered highly profitable. Decades-old legacy label Saregama, powerful in its ownership of pretty much all Bollywood music before the 90s, is on an evolutionary path, using its catalogue in innovative ways for sustained relevance. Public reports show that Saregama has been actively partnering with film studios to expand its sync strategy, the practice of licensing existing songs to be placed within films and visual narratives.
अभी ना जाओ छोड़कर के दिल अभी भरा नहीं.
This is notable because Bollywood has traditionally favored commissioning new compositions over using pre-existing music through syncs. Old songs like Ramba Ho! feature in new avatars in the film, remade entirely to fit the visual scene they were put in. When Saregama licenses their classics to new films, they put themselves in a situation where they can demand ownership of new soundtracks as well. And while we're on the topic of syncing music, a moment for this viral sync, which has worked out extremely well for literally everyone involved. There is a song towards the end of the film, an extension of this Kawali, which appears early on as well to introduce Ranveer Singh's character, called Move/Ye Ishq Ishq on the album. This is mostly a rebel song, a rapper from Meghalaya, but throws in a surprise Sonu Nigam verse as it reintroduces Ranveer Singh. For Sachdev made the decision to put them both on a song together, but it's so cool that he did. In all the talk of pan-Indian cinema taking over corporate calls and interviews for for the last couple of years, the soundtrack of Dhurandhar comes out as one that truly embraces it, actually bringing artists from different parts of the country, and the movie does it so effortlessly that you have to really look into the credits to understand the scope of it. The album places regional and independent voices, artists at different stages of their careers like Hanuman Kind, Rebel, Jasmine Sandler, Diljit Dosanjh, alongside established Bollywood names. It is commendable how these artists were invited to bring their specific identities, not to be reshaped into a homogeneous film voice. Musically, this creates textural variety. Culturally, it signals a soundtrack that acknowledges India's sonic pluralism and foregrounds artists as themselves rather than as interchangeable inputs. On the surface, the soundtrack has all the formulaic tropes of a post-COVID Hindi film soundtrack: an Arijit Singh song, an item song, a couple of old classics remade. Yet, it stands out for its choices and vision. It blends three modes: sync placements that lock to scene energy, respectful reworkings that preserve lyric and melodic chorus, and fresh original songs built for specific narrative beats. This balance matters. It shows the music could come from anywhere in time and space, but it goes in as long as it fits the narrative of the film. It offers hooks and earworms, but more importantly, it shifts expectations about what mainstream Indian film music can do. If the industry takes cues, which surely they are, it could lead to soundtracks that genuinely deepen the films they serve, while also empowering today's musicians to build careers without creative restraints. You've been watching Soft Power. If this resonated with you, subscribe and stick around. We've got more stories, deep dives, and breakdowns coming your way.